Hey everybody, welcome back to Sidebar with Stephanie. I have an egg freezing update for you. The last time we checked in, I had gotten my antral follicle count of 9. And just to recap, your antral follicles are in your ovaries. They are small, fluid-filled sacs where immature eggs are that will hopefully eventually mature to matured eggs that you can ovulate and then you can potentially become pregnant with. Or, in this case, they can be harvested and you can freeze them and maybe make a baby with them later. Okay. So at this point, my antral follicle count is 9. Not terrible, but not great. So another piece to the puzzle of trying to figure out how many eggs I might get once I complete this egg freezing journey is my anti-Mullerian hormone count. So I had the blood test, right? So now I've gotten my results. I got these results from Dr. Maslow on December 26th and I filmed it. I'm going to share it with you straight from the office so you can experience it just like I did. Take a look.
The way we measure or the way we assess egg supply is a blood test and an ultrasound. So the blood test that we performed is a hormone level called AMH or anti-Mullerian hormone. Anti-Mullerian hormone is a hormone that's produced by the eggs themselves. So essentially, the more eggs you have, the higher that hormone level is. The other way we look at it is with an antral follicle count, which is the ultrasound that we did. If you remember, we looked at those little black dots on the ovaries. Mm-hmm. Each of those little black dots is something called an antral follicle, which is a small fluid-filled cyst that contains a single immature egg waiting to be selected for ovulation. So at any given time, a portion of our egg supply sits at the surface of the ovary in these little antral follicles. At the beginning of each menstrual cycle, the brain sends a message to the ovary to select one of those follicles to grow for that month. And that follicle will grow and ultimately mature its egg and release it for ovulation. The rest of the follicles that don't get selected, they eventually just die off. The body disposes of them, and then new ones come in their place. And so really, we're churning through our egg supply much quicker than just the one egg that we ovulate each month. We take advantage of that process when we do the egg freezing because what we're really trying to do is get your body to grow as many or select as many from that cohort that sit at the surface of the ovary at that time. And then what we're going to do is retrieve them and save them. And essentially what you're preserving is a group of eggs that otherwise would have been lost, that otherwise you would have been disposed of. And so that's why women who do this process don't go into menopause earlier. We're not stealing from your future fertility. We're using the eggs your body otherwise would have gotten rid of this month. Okay. Now, birth control pills tend to make these numbers look lower than they really are, especially in women who have been on birth control pills for a long period of time. So birth control pills don't affect your fertility in any way, meaning you are no more or less likely to get pregnant now that you've been off the birth control pills than you would be if you had never been on them in the first place. Okay. But that's because it's no longer suppressing the one egg to come out each month. But if you think about it, you really, while you're on the birth control pills, kind of suppress the whole reproductive system. And so generally those waiting follicles tend to be suppressed much more. And so the AMH values tend to look lower. The antral follicle counts can sometimes look lower than they really are. And even more so, what we've learned over the last few years that we've been doing this, where we've done now 2,000 egg freezing cycles, is that in women who are on birth control pills or who come to cycle right off of their birth control pills, they tend to not get as many eggs as we would think. Because essentially, if this is your ovaries and we want to get them to here, when you're on birth control pills, we're kind of starting from behind the starting line. Mm-hmm. And so it takes more medications, and sometimes you really can't reach the maximum potential that your ovaries would be able to produce immediately off the birth control pills. So we often recommend going off them, which is good that you've already started that process, but it really can take sometimes 3 months or so for the body to fully recover or for rebound from the suppression of the birth control pills. It's not bad. They're not doing anything harmful to you, but it makes this process not as efficient. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to get the most that you can out of it, it often makes sense to kind of give yourself a few months off the birth control pills. Now, when you had your blood work done, I'm just trying to look at the dates to try and get a sense of how soon off the birth control pills you were. You were like a month.
Yeah, my first period off the birth control pills was December 10th. That was day 1.
Got it. Yeah. So I think the numbers, and I'll go through them, are low for your age, and some of that might be still seeing some suppression off the birth control pills.
Okay.
I can go through this a little bit. So this is a table of AMH values based on age. So remember, AMH correlates with egg supply, so that AMH will go down with age because egg supply goes down with age. At 33, we usually the sort of median or middle of the road AMH level is about 2.7. Yours is quite low. It's down here in the 0.5 range.
Oh, wow. Okay.
0.52. It's basically down in the 5th percentile, which is pretty rare for someone your age. Meaning, if I had 100 women who are 33, less than 5 of them are going to have AMHs that are under 0.5, or I mean, around where you are, 0.52. So I think that partially we're looking at some. I suspect we're looking at some suppression by the birth control pills. But you're probably low to begin with, meaning it's unlikely that you're going to have, that the birth control pills, you'll go off birth control pills, we'll recheck it in 2-3 months, and it's going to be 4. It's probably also not even going to be 2.7, but I would suspect we might get closer to the 1.5, maybe.
Okay.
It's really hard to know without just trying.
There's no easy way to put it. That sucked. That is not what I wanted to hear. I did not want to hear that I had an AMH level of 0.52. That is very low. The median AMH level for a 34-year-old woman is 2.5. You don't have to be a math major to know that that is a big difference. So I asked Dr. Maslow so I could get sort of some context for this, right? Like, who is this 34-year-old woman with an AMH level of 2.5? Is she on birth control? Is she not on birth control? What is her situation? Dr. Maslow told me that most of the data that they have about AMH level is collected from women who go through infertility clinics. So we can generally assume that these women are not on birth control. But she also told me that Extend Fertility's research arm just published a poster based on new AMH data of non-infertile women, and that it seems that the numbers that they have for that AMH level have actually been overestimated in non-infertile women. Still, she told me that she thinks my AMH level has actually been suppressed from being on birth control. Okay, hopefully that can reverse itself, right? Hopefully it can work itself out of my system. I guess we'll see. But if I moved forward at this point, based on their algorithm, I would have an expected range of getting between 4 and 10 eggs to freeze. Now, because I started this process back in December, I'm sort of grandfathered into the Rest Assured program, which no longer exists, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that because I did mention it before. And based on that program, if I don't get the minimum of 4 eggs, if I move forward at this point, then I get to do a cycle for free. But again, that program is not available anymore. So after talking with Dr. Maslow, she basically has told me she thinks the birth control has suppressed my system and it's best to wait a little bit and see if we can get the effects of the birth control out of my body, and I'll need to do another transvaginal ultrasound and another blood test. There's also been another small change in this. Previously, there were no fee for these procedures. Now there is a $250 fee, but if you move forward with an egg freezing cycle with Extend, that gets applied to your cycle. So it's no extra cost if you move forward with them. If you don't end up going through with an egg freezing cycle, it is a $250 cost. So that's where we're at right now. I have a antral follicle count of 9 and an AMH level of 0.52. So I'm going to get retested and see if we can get those numbers up, if I can get that range up, and hopefully have a better chance at freezing more eggs. All right, again, if you have questions that weren't answered or you want clarification on something, just send me a message, let me know, and we'll get those questions answered. And in the next episode, we will talk about my second blood test. Yay! I hate getting my blood drawn. And my second transvaginal ultrasound, and we can see if we can get those numbers to go up. This is Sidebar with Stephanie. Thank you for watching and joining me on this egg freezing journey. One more thing. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and click the little bell so you get notifications when I post new episodes of Sidebar with Stephanie.